Okay, so today the theme is V6. We're gonna go around the gym, we're gonna try every V6 that we lay our eyes on, and we're gonna talk about the things that stand out to us, bits of advice that you need to focus on while you're climbing V6, and everything that you need to know to help you progress through V6 as well, and then, start working up to V7. So V6 day, let's get it done. All right, we're gonna hop on a very steep looking V6, and I'm gonna do it twice. First, I'm gonna do it in a way where I'm not gonna be using a little tip. And then we're gonna do it again to show the comparison when I start utilizing the bit of advice I have for this kind of steep climbing. So anyway, see if you can spot how I'm making it harder for myself on this V6. Okay. So we're gonna do that again right away. Let me just grab some chalk. Now, I was doing this in a very powerful method. I was kind of just relying on my grip strength in order to kind of keep coming into every hold. But with steep climbing, there's a very, very useful technique that we can apply in a lot of scenarios. And we're gonna be talking about not just bicycles, but also kind of micro bicycles. So for those who don't know what a bicycle is, I'll just quickly define it. Let's just use this purple hold as an example. So we have 1 foot on top of the hold and then 1 foot toe hooking to pincer and compress the hold. So have a look at this. This is a bicycle. We're getting some nice compression between the hold and helps us achieve a stable position. Most of the time, bicycles are big holds and they're very obvious, but sometimes they're not. Like let's take this hold for example. It doesn't look like a bicycle, but I'm gonna show you a way that you can get these kind of micro bicycles to achieve a little bit more of this stability and take some weight off your grip strength. So let's do this V6 again. We use as many bicycles and little micro bicycles as we can. So first of all, check this out. I did this move as a jump before, but now I'm gonna get this bicycle and I can feel my toe hook pulling against the hold. I'm gonna do the same thing here. Last time I kind of just came into this hold, but even the slopey edge gives me a little bit of support so that when I hit this next hold, my feet help pull me back in a little bit. And then there's even one more we can do at the end here. This guy here, as soon as I smack that sloper, this bicycle kind of locks me in. So this is especially important in steep climbing where there's a lot of weight on our grip. So any little way that we can take weight off of our grip by using our lower body is extremely helpful. And so at the end of the day, consider bicycling every hold you can in the steep, even holds like this that don't necessarily look like they're meant to be bicycled. And this is especially important when we're climbing V6 because we're not given these big obvious footholds anymore like we are sometimes in a V4 or V5. And we have to deal with worse footholds like this isn't very good, and we have to find ways to apply good tension on these footholds when we're climbing V6. And so I'd say the micro bicycles, you definitely need to be looking for more when you're climbing V6. All right, so here we're gonna be talking about how to heel hook and toe hook effectively, but we're gonna take the V6 spin on it, of course. So with the V6, I think is fair to say where we start seeing more of like bad heel hooks. We see slopey heel hooks, weird toe hooks, and it's more important that we know how to do heel hooks and toe hooks effectively. Let's say this was a V4 or V5, some easier grade. Maybe these heel and toe hooks would be super juggy, and it doesn't matter as much how we position our hips and our heel because the hold's so juggy that our foot will just stay on it. But let's take this hold for example. Very slopey, so it's important that we put our heel on effectively. If I was to just kind of slap my heel on like this, like that, it's very difficult for me to actually get any purchase of it at all and pull off. Whereas maybe a jug, it would be a bit better. So when we have a worse heel like this, step one, we don't want to position our heel with kind of like the inside of our foot facing towards the wall. We want to be bringing it outwards and kind of rolling onto the outside of our heel. That's where we open our hips and we're going to bring them close to the wall and achieve a nice stable position. And we're able to rock more over the foot. So let's do that. Let's rotate our leg And now we're able to get all the way in here and look at how much weight is being taken off my upper body. And I'm able to easily reach up to the next hold. So it's very important that we know how to heel hook and toe hook effectively. And now let's have a look at this toe hook. We have to do a toe hook to go to this next hold. So what we don't want to do with the toe hook is have our leg super bent. Like the more straight we can get it, the better. If I were to try and bend my leg like this, I'm not really getting much tension on my leg, and it's putting a lot of pressure on my upper body. So the way that I achieve a straight leg and more tension throughout the leg is I want to shift a lot of my weight onto my left side so that I can straighten this leg. So it means I have to pull in a little bit with the left arm, but it achieves the tension we want on this right leg. So let's give that a try. So I set my toe hook, I really straighten out my body and I achieve some tension so that I'm able to lock off carefully upwards. And then I think we have another heel hook. Get our hips nice and close. Same sort of thing. Oh, it's tough, but it's hard. Oh. Nice. Okay, so next up, we're gonna be climbing on a slab. Now, a very obvious thing when we start climbing on V6 slabs is that simply the footholds get smaller and we start dealing with footholds that look like this rather than some of the big ones that we might see on the easier grades. And so I have a pretty important bit of advice when we're climbing on a slab, especially that has a lot of these footholds. And it's the idea of minimizing the chance for your foot to kind of wiggle around on these footholds, become a bit more unstable and less trustworthy. And now it's making it very difficult to weight these feet. So the way we combat this is, I'll get on the wall and we'll talk about it. So let's first get a couple moves in here. Where's the hold? Okay, so I'm gonna make a move now. So what I wanna do is I don't wanna put my foot really nicely on this hold. Try and find like good position, like feel around. And then now my foot has kind of wiggled around a lot on this foothold. It's kind of slipped off a little bit. And now I actually kind of trust it less. So if I were to move now, there's a good chance my foot might slip, or I just might not trust it as much. So what is more effective to do is to assess a good body position that I want to go for the next hold. Like I think my feet are good here, and then adjust my foot. So basically, I should adjust my foot at the last second before I actually move off it. And the reason that this is effective is because if I adjust my foot right before I move, there's no time for it to wiggle around and slip off. So this is something we should always be focusing on when we're climbing on little feet like this on a slab. So I put my foot here. Okay, I found a good body position. Now I adjust, it's good. Then I go up. Let's do it again. So, okay, I found a good body position. I adjust the foot, and then I go. This just ensures that every time we make a move, our foot is in the best possible position and doesn't allow for any time for it to slip around, for us to trust it less. And this is especially important when we start climbing on V6 and we're using terrible feet like that. Okay, so next up we have a boulder with the theme of slopers. And more specifically, I think the body positioning for these slopers is gonna be really important. And the reason is because they're not all simply like down pull slopers. So it's gonna be important that we position ourselves in a way that we're applying directional force on these slopers that makes sense. So we'll climb the boulder and I'll tell you what I mean. So already we can tell like these big ones, it's very obvious, like we can't just down pull those. Same thing with the little guy. And even these slopers at the end, they're kind of side pulls and they're not just down pulls. So it's gonna be important how we position ourselves. So for starters, this one here is kind of a side pull, so I can't just like kind of pull down on it. It makes it really physically intense to get to this next hold. So what I need to do is I need to apply some layback pressure to this. So let's find a good position in order to achieve this. So I think this works. Let's add a back flag. And now look at this. I'm like putting all the weight in a layback position, and I achieved a really nice body position to apply good directional force on this sloper. So let's continue to find these things. Okay, so we have a Gaston here. So I can't really down pull on this, right? It'd be very difficult to try and down pull on that sloper to just do the next move. So again, we got to do the same sort of thing. We want to hit this, probably achieve a layback. So how can I do that? Well, I can work my feet up and achieve a nice, stable layback. And then same thing with these side pulls. How can we find a way to really get some sideways force? Well, I actually think here we can get a little bit creative and use a knee bar. And now I'm really pulling to the left in this position and achieve a nice stable position. And the last move, lock it in with a heel hook. All right. Okay, so the moral of the story with V6, slopers aren't just gonna be down pulls. We really gotta think about how to put ourselves in good positions to weight the best part of a sloper in the direction that it's facing. Laybacks, side pulls, knee bars, heel hooks, placing ourselves over our hips. These sorts of ideas are really important on V6. All right, next up, we have a very fun looking V6. This one is just kind of like 2 moves, super fun looking, and there are 2 main themes to this boulder. So first we have a dyno at the start, just a pretty simple 2 hands dyno, no coordination involved. And then the ending looks like a very classic muscle up move. And you know what? Often in a lot of gyms, you'll have like a V6 boulder with literally just this move. You have a big hold and setters love to make you just do a pure muscle up on it. So first we'll talk about the dyno and then we'll talk about the muscle up. So this dyno, while there's no coordination involved, there's still a lot that we should focus on. Especially in V6, dynos just start to get bigger, a little bit more complex. Like the hands on this are kind of small. They're not just jugs like maybe we would see on an easier grade. So that means there are some extra things that we need to focus on with the launch of a dyno like this. So for one, we have to make sure we're getting the most purchase out of these hands in the dyno as we possibly can because they're not so juggy. So a couple ways we can do this is one, make sure we're not jumping out of like a really bunched position. There's a lot less power when we dyno out of like bent arms. The way we get the most value from our launch position, especially on worse holds, is we really want to milk everything we've got. So we have like all of this room to play with. We can elongate our arms and really like wind up the tension in our legs so we get more explosivity out of our legs and more pulling time with our arms. So if I wind up, it gets me the power that I need to do the dyno. And like you can even take it further. We don't even just want to like straighten our arms. We want to get into our lats bit, like get every little bit of elasticity out of your arms and your legs as you possibly can. So big wind up, and then your body acts as like a slingshot. Whereas this bunched up position, we don't have a lot of power. And more important when we got small holds like this. But anyway, let's talk about the muscle up now. I am notoriously not so strong with my dips, so I had to learn this really important technique to help me on this mantle move. Some people are just so strong that they can do this, where they have this hold and they kind of just lock off, kind of put their arm like this and press their right arm down easily. And I'm not one of these people. So I have to find a way to kind of use my pulling strength to compensate for my dip strength. So a way we do this is simply, you take your better pressing arm, in this case it's my right, now you take your opposite hand and you place it on top of your hand that's gonna press. Now what you do is you pull on your hand, you pull on your pressing arm with your other hand, and as soon as you get over this hand, you start pressing with both. This kind of acts like as a helpful lever to help you get over it. So let's give it a try. I'm gonna place my pressing hand down, other hand on top, and now I can press with both. And once we're above the hold, we're a bit safer. So anyway, this is kind of like an easy little hack that you can do with these mantle moves. And something else I need to point out as well is this is very helpful in combination with like a little bit of a kip and a little bit of an explosive pull to help give you that extra little bit of boost so it takes more weight off the pressing power. Yeah, you use this technique in combination with just a bit of a dynamic pull, a bit of kip. You can even push off the wall. All of these things in combination will help you with this muscle up move. All right, so let's have a look at this purple V6. So the most obvious thing about it, we can see right off the bat, is that it is very long and there are a lot of moves. So I'm gonna go put my first attempt on this and then I'll come back and we'll talk about it. Okay, so we're gonna do that boulder again, but we're gonna focus on being as efficient as possible. The reason for this, because that was a lot of moves. And on my first attempt especially, I'm like trying to learn all the body positions. So I'm doing a move, I'm stopping, playing with my feet, continuing, and I'm doing this for every move. But I was getting a little pumped at the end of that because I'm staying on the wall longer, I'm stopping in more positions to control moves, and this is just pumping me out. So let's say I fell at the end of that boulder and I want to send it. A great way that we can optimize for getting less pumped is trying to connect the moves a little bit more, be as efficient as possible, and achieve a bit more flow. So that means I'm gonna try and stop and control every position less. And when there's a move I feel like I can connect, then I'm gonna do it. And what that does is it minimizes the amount of time I'm on the wall actually pulling and exerting, and will help me get to the end of that boulder with less pump. And if there's a crux up there, I'll be better prepared for it. So let's have a look at what that looks like. So a great example is even just this move. I noticed, instead of stopping, doing another move, check this out. I can just kind of connect them. I can go into the undercling and into this next hold. And there's a lot of situations in which I can do this. So let's try it again here. You see how I just do it a little bit faster and I'm just stopping less. I'm always moving either my feet or my hands. And you know what? Just for fun, let's do it one more time and I won't talk, and I'll do it like genuinely as fast as I can do it while also being controlled. We don't necessarily want to speed climb. We just want to be as efficient as possible while still having control. So let's try it now. See how I was going quite fast, but I was always in control and I wasn't scrambling, but I was connecting moves. I was never stopped. I was kind of trying to think a step or two ahead. And this is definitely harder to do mentally, but optimizes physically. So if you think you can well, we always want to try and outsmart the boulder and use our tactics to get to the top. And this is a great one. Just try and be as efficient as possible. V6 is a great time where you need to start thinking about this. Boulders are long and pumpy. And yeah, just be as efficient as you can, especially on long endurance boulders. Okay, so I just fell off this boulder. Now, let's say we're in the situation where I think that one is just a bit too hard for me. And I say, okay, there's no hope. I'm gonna walk away from it, find another one. A good bit of advice for when you run into this situation is actually, you can treat it as a training opportunity. And even if a move, if you're really convinced that it's too hard for you, I would recommend giving a couple tries to simply making the move feel less impossible. Now in that scenario, I kind of fell going for this Gaston. So what I'm gonna say to myself is, okay, I'm gonna put another try on that. And I'm just gonna hold this hold for as long as I can. I'm gonna inch my way, inch, and just see how much I can close the gap, even by a little micro bit, to sticking that move and not sticking it. And sometimes what you'll notice is you may push yourself so far that you actually end up getting into a position where you can send the boulder. So let's give this a try. All right, so now I'm in the same situation. I said to myself, I'm ready to fall, but I'm just gonna hit this and keep inching. You know, even if I were to fall here, I still learned a bit. But if I just keep inching, I can surprise myself. But anyway, let's say that I didn't stick the move and I didn't surprise myself and, you know, stick the move I thought was too hard for me. Even just pushing as far as you can, you're just working yourself as hard as you can. It's like you're repping out an exercise that's really physically difficult. And this is just strength building at the end of the day. So the idea to take away from this is that there is value to be found in moves that feel too hard for you or feel impossible for you. And it's worth 1 or 2 more tries just to really test yourself and push. And it can be a lot of fun as well. Oh, hey, that boulder looked pretty hard, didn't it? It's because it's a V7. Wonder what goes into climbing V7. Have to stay tuned for another video.